If you are a 20 something year old and want to know what life is like in your 30s, well, here are my take as someone who recently turned 30. Get ready for this. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. Well, there's a little bit of that. Alright, let's get started. So, first one is you may have a little bit more clarity in your life because you have figured out what doesn't work for you. So, for example, this could be people that you don't jive with, activities you tried but maybe don't enjoy as much. I have developed some favorite items that are repeat purchases, so like facial cleanser, sunscreen, seasoning, etc. So having that bit of more clarity in your life, it's gonna show off as confidence when you're out socializing, when you're out dating, and that's a good thing to have. And the keywords to this are may have and a bit more. So it really depends on how much you push yourself outside of your comfort zone in your late 20s. And as you experience with different things, that's gonna give you that experience, that clarity to say what you like and what you don't like. And that's gonna show up a lot more in your 30s. Alright, the next one is that weekends don't plan themselves. In your 20s, you might have started in your late 20s, mid 20s. You must have started to notice your friends are starting to disperse. They may have relocated for jobs. Some may be in long-term relationships. And then in your 30s, occasionally people still do move. Some people may be starting a family. But what's really clear is unlike your early to mid 20s, you don't have, for example, if you guys went to university together, you don't have that common thing bringing you guys together. For some people, they may have work friends. If your teammates or colleagues are the same age group, you guys may hang out after work. You might not. Personally, it really depends on, I guess, the company and location, but I guess it's not very common that I've seen in my friends group as well that they hang out with their colleagues after work. And so if you don't plan your weekends in advance, typically you just won't have anything going on in the weekends. So my tip for people is to, if you want to do something, you want to probably plan it at least a week in advance. People are going to be very busy typically with other things going on. It could be just catching up on chores. They could be hanging out with other friends, but if you don't book that time slot in advance, it's gonna be very hard for you guys to do something. Let's just say if you message them 24 hours in advance or hit them up like on the day of. Typically people need a lot of notice, and you want to be proactive in planning your weekends. All right, the next one, it's a bigger one. It's a quarter life crisis. So, up until your early and maybe mid to early 20s, you've probably followed a well-defined, laid-out path. Go to school, so like high school, university, college, whatever. Maybe it could be a trade school, and then afterwards you go out and get a job. So your objectives have been pretty clearly laid out. But as you enter into your 30s, I feel like there's a whole new frontier. So let's just say, for example, if you are in a typical 9 to 5 career or even in a trade job, which is probably what most of your life path has been leading up to. You go to work, you come back, so let's just say Monday to Friday, and then maybe go to the gym, you come back home, maybe watch some Netflix, chill for a little bit. Maybe occasionally you're able to squeeze out a social activity at night. And then come weekends is for pretty much catching up on chores. Maybe you've got to fit in a grocery run, right? You maybe continue working out. You can probably squeeze in 1 or 2 social events, maybe go on dates, see your partner. But pretty soon, between Friday night and Sunday night, it's going to feel very short. And you just repeat the process again and again, and then you just repeat it until, for example, maybe the next big thing you look forward to is like a vacation or a long weekend where you could get to really just disconnect from that grind. But then you come back from that vacation, come back from that long weekend, and then you're still in that sort of cycle again, and you do that for a few years, and maybe you start to wonder, like, is there gonna be more to this? Like I've been stuck on this grind for, it feels like quite a while. It's, maybe you've been out of school now for like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and then you look on the horizon and it's like, well, let's just say if I retire at 65, like that's still like 30 years more to go. That's a lot of time. So maybe that's when you start to really have that like quarter life crisis, and you start to think about like, what am I really here doing? What's the purpose of my life? Things like that. I've been there. I know a few of my peers have been there. So definitely something to watch out for in your 30s if you haven't already had it in your late 20s, which I had. All right, the next one's a little bit more optimistic, but is having a new hobby. So many people that I know, including myself, we've discovered new hobbies as we enter into our 30s. So some very common ones are running, cycling, rock climbing. These are activities that are quite typical amongst millennials. With running, especially like joining weekend running clubs. So I think this could be like having a new hobby in your 30s, typically one that's like fitness related. I think it's a function of going back to that quarter life crisis thing. Like you want to hit new goals. You've been working, or so you've been studying and then working, and then having these like fitness things. You could like set yourself a new goal. So it could be like you want to do like a half marathon, a marathon. When you go rock climbing, you want to hit that V4, V5, V6, whatever it is, right? Also having more disposable income, so then you can try new things. There's also like a social element to it, especially with the running clubs. Rock climbing is good for meeting new people as well. There's a good community in there. And also maybe because as you enter into your 30s, you realize it's going to be important to take care of your fitness, and these three activities, of course, cover off fitness as well. All right, so that's my take on life in early 30s, at least. Let me know if any of these resonate with you, and there might be a part 2 to this as I think of more realizations.